Alright, it's Chill from Team Liquid. This is my second commentary on Zerg vs Protoss in this series. If you are listening to this commentary first, I'd advise you to stop and go watch the other one first. It's on Longinus. Because I'm going to be talking about... that one deals more with the basics of this build order. This one's going to be talking more about specifics and how to react to different things. And, I don't know, things of that nature. So you should really read, you should watch the first one first. Because that's how it's meant to be done. Alright, anyway. I kind of want to say, that when I do these commentaries, I purposely pick games where, I don't play well, just to illustrate how you can still win while not playing well. I find a lot of people release commentaries where they play incredible and just rape the other guy. I mean, that's fine, but for a strategical analysis, you kind of want to release something where you play crappy. And I mean, the guy I'm playing here is off-racing me, and this is just a casual game, so this clearly isn't meant to be released for the purpose of look how good I am. So just to get that out of the way, because I had a lot of comments about that the last time I released a commentary. So with that out of the way, this is Zerg vs Protoss and TauCross. There's actually a thread on this recently about how people are scared to 12 hatch on TauCross because they don't want to get walled in with a pylon and then cannoned. TauCross, the positions are really far and the choke is really small. The choke to the natural is small and the choke to the main is even smaller. So I think you generally see a lot of fast expansions on this, even more so than any other map. And I think if you're doing something like Overpool, which is Overlord at 9 and then Pool at 9, you're gonna set yourself back too far in macro. It's not gonna be you're not gonna set yourself back insurmountably, but you are going to give yourself less of a chance to win, I think. And I know people will argue that Overpool doesn't set you back that far, but it's my experience that it does. So because you're going to see a lot of fast expansions, I advise you to 12 hatch and just stick a drone in the choke when the probe would come scouting. And if he targets the drone with his probe, then send another drone immediately to help it, because the probe will get the first hit, so he'll kill you and still have a few hit points remaining. And after he kills the drone, he can just throw it in a pile. So contradictory to everything I just said, this Protoss is going 2-gate on TauCross. I think this is a pretty bad build for Protoss. I don't think you'll see this very often if your opponent respects you. The guy I'm playing he doesn't respect me, so that's fine. So the way I'm just gonna follow up to the standard. I mean, he's shown a geyser, but I still think there's gonna be a relatively fast expansion. That geyser, I'm thinking that it is for a forge at this point. He'll be going fast +1, and then use that forge to build cannons at his expansion. And contradictory to that is a cybernetics core. So now I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of tech build, so I'm keeping that Overlord there just to scout. And because his rush is most likely going to be delayed, I'm sending another drone to expand right now. And just I've basically sacrificed that Overlord to get an idea what his tech is going to be, if it's going to be Corsairs. I'm doubting robotics, but anything's possible. Or a Citadel. So I'm making just Zerglings here because he is 2-gating, obviously, so when he moves out I don't want to be caught without Zealots. And I missed him moving out, but just the timing of when I would move out if I was playing Protoss told me that I should be making Zerglings at that point. So this is a little different from the other build, which was 4 hatch and then +1 and then layer and then Zergling speed. And the reason I'm changing my build is obviously to react to what I've seen him do. If he's two gating, obviously I'm going to need more Zerglings, and I'm going to need speed quicker to deal with an eventual Zealot attack. So I'm basically going to sacrifice some of my economy for Zerglings instead of drones, and I'm going to delay my lair. But it's not, you shouldn't think like that I'm putting myself behind by doing this. It's you have to react to what you see your opponent do. So I mean, he's already put himself behind by not fast expanding. So what he wants is me to have no drones, or sorry, for me to make all drones, and then he can catch me off balance. What he doesn't want is me to make just enough Zerglings to force him back. So that should be your goal. Make no extra Zerglings, because he'll have an expansion with cannons and whatnot and zealots blocking them up. But make just enough Zerglings that your Zerglings and drones, if needed, can survive. So I pulled my drones off gas at this point. The reason I did that was just because I felt like I didn't have enough drones at this point, especially with a 5th hatchery that I wanted. And I really felt like I was going to need Zerglings because I was still worried about his eventual Zealot push. You don't want to really do that for too long, but if you don't have enough drones, sometimes it can warrant it, in that by pulling your drones off gas, you'll be able to make more drones. So you'll end up with more drones and less gas, but you'll net more resources by making more drones. It's not something I would advise very often, but in a certain if the game's following a certain style, you might want to consider taking your drones off gas just for a while. So now I finally got lair. What's a little different about this build is I've gone 2 evolution chambers before lair, and the reason I do that is purely map specific. It's TauCross is a very open map, and there's not much terrain comes into play. There's not much tactical play going on. So I mean, controlling the terrain isn't going to win you battles in this case. Unlike Longinus, where there is quite a bit of terrain, there's a lot of ramps, both in the middle and at the double gas expansion. So you can use that to your advantage. Whereas TauCross, I mean, it's completely flat. There's a couple bridges, but most of these battles are just going to be your entire army fighting his entire army. So in that case, getting ahead in upgrades will really help you. And it's also, I saw, who was it? It was In Control versus G5, I think, on this map. And In Control used a build like this, and it seemed to work out well through the mid game. I saw that Diggity did a commentary on that on YouTube. It was pretty good. So shout out to Diggity, I guess. Go take a look at that. It was a pretty good game, actually, and that build worked out well. And whenever I play people, I like to use their own builds against them, just to be a dick. Not really, but anyway. So here we are, same stuff as before, 5 hatchery lurkerling, really. I think this lurkerling build works out better on trainless maps, because it's easier to flank, easier to trap fleeing units. So here he comes in with the Zealots and an Archon. I probably shouldn't have engaged here. I think I'm going to win this battle anyway, just looking at what he has. I got a lucky trap on the Archon. But I really should have fell back to a Sunken, because and just used the Sunken to target the Archon, because that explosive damage really works well against Archons, and I would have ended up with quite a few more Zerglings. But I still think I'm ahead at this point. I want to keep, as I said in the last game, I want to always keep trying to deny the 3rd expansion. It's I mean, you can't deny the natural, really. That's impossible. But it's not very hard to deny a 3rd expansion if you just get in there and scout. So again, I got lucky here. Killed the Dark Templar, and I basically have that one Sunken, even though it's not necessary to win battles. It's good against Archons, as I said, and it's good to stop random Dark Templar play and random run-ins of Zealots trying to snipe drones. I think if you're a high-level player, in which case you probably won't be listening to this, you don't need sunken colonies in Zerg vs. Protoss basically ever. But if you're a low-level, mid-level player, I would suggest you just cover up all your expansions with one sunken colony. It just stops, and if you go back, or if you notice when I played on Longinus, you'll notice I do that at every base, and it just stops. It stops Zealots from killing everything, and you have to run drones. It stops Dark Templar from running. A Dark Templar sneaks by your army. You don't have to run your entire army to chase it. You can keep it in position when you've got a contain up. It's just it's good for us lower level players. So Overlord speed is done now in decent timing because he's got Dark Templar out now, and I'm gonna go straight to Hive now. You want to go to Hive. I mean, when you get lurkers out, you're gonna have a time when you're controlling the map with lurkers, and that time is before he gets Archons out. I mean, he can have observers out, and your lurkers still give you map control. And that's just because he doesn't have the right units to counter them at that point, which are either a large number of Templar, Dragoons, or Archons. But so your lurkers are going to control the gameplay at that point. It's this later mid game when if you just stick with layer play, you're not gonna be able to cut it. So you need so this is the timing when you need to be going towards Hive. And I mean it's different every game. I can't give you an explicit rule when you should be going Hive, but it's typically when you would expect him to have quite a few Archons and observers out. And on the other side of the coin, if you're rushing to Hive, which works sometimes, but more often than not it doesn't against Protoss, you're going to find yourself with Hive tech, but not enough units to keep up with a Protoss, especially a fast expanding Protoss. So those are just some things to consider with that, when to go Hive. So I've got the Spire up now, a couple Scourge. I'm just going to leave them around my cliff to deal with drops. Again, same thing as last game. If you saw the Longinus game, where I had Scourge guarding my expansion, which was the obvious drop point. Just guarding them, they're not hotkeyed. I can run in and save them, or run in and Scourge the shuttle. That's the similar thing, and I put it at my main because that's the obvious drop point. So there's a drop coming at my main now. He flew in west of where I thought he would fly in from, so that didn't work out too well. And you can see at the top right natural what I was talking about Dark Templar, and I haven't had time to get a sunken colony up there, and that's the result. Just Dark Templar snuck by, killed a bunch of drones, and it was enough drones. So I mean, if I had had time to put up a sunken, that entire little harassment with Dark Templar would have been denied. And this is pretty brutal right here. I run my drones back to my natural without thinking that the Templar is still there, and that happens. That's pretty brutal. Don't do that. So now this is a pretty bad situation because I've reached Hive, but I've just lost all of my economy. Essentially, I've got I'd say 2 bases worth of drones. This would be like getting to Hive and only having 2 bases, which would not work. So the only thing I have saving me at this point is I have good upgrades. I think I'm actually ahead of him in carapace versus attack, and I know I have more attack than he is armor. So that's going to be my saving grace in this game. So what I'm going to be looking to do is establish my macro, because upgrade advantages are I guess intensified the more units you have. So I'm going to be doing things that will force him basically to what am I trying to say? I basically want a game where we're going to sit back and build up. If I was behind in upgrades, I'd be going all in pretty much, because not so much all in, but I'd be playing a lot more aggressively. So things like dropping around, just harassing him basically, while I can build pure drones. If I don't want to really bait him into attacking, because that would be stupid. I'm spending all this time building drones, so my army is small. But if I can get a good drop in on his gateways, I can force his entire army to run back, and then I'll have ultralisks if he decides to counter. So that is the game plan. That's the thinking behind this drop. And I researched drop after I got to layer, or sorry, after I got to hive, just in case you were wondering. I don't think there's much value in going drop before you get to hive. I think the adrenaline upgrade will help you much more. So this is kind of strange. He walks in, checks my natural. I suppose he realized that I had no units, so either a drop was coming or a counter or something. So either that or he was just checking another expansion. I don't know. I haven't even watched the replay. So even though this is he got off really good storms, and I mean he's just going to come back and be able to kill that really easily. It accomplished what I was trying to do in that I got all my drones back up. Now I can switch back to making units. And because I'm ahead in upgrades, if I can stall to get the Ultralisk Carapace upgrade, then my Ultralisk should be extremely powerful. And I won't need very many of them to turn the tides, especially because my Zerglings will be at 3 hits instead of 2. So now I'll be switching. I mean, my supply count is super low. I don't know if you can read it, but it's 62. Well, it's 74 now, but those are all ultras making. So even though it's small, and I basically have no drones in my main, I've reestablished my economy somewhat. And as I keep saying, my upgrades are going to keep me in the game. So you have to play to your strengths, right? If I had less upgrades, I'd be doing more harassment drop and more lurker drops around his expansions, basically bugging him. But because I'm ahead in upgrades, and I think around equal in economy, I'm looking more to do not so much all in, but drops that will kill his gateways and force him back. Because I'm not afraid of fighting I won't be afraid of fighting his army with these drops. So that's going to be the game plan again. Leave the lurkers behind to help defend expansions. I'm defending the expansion I think he'll attack. I imagine he wouldn't go into my natural just because it's more open. So here he comes. On that note, here he comes running into my natural. You got to save the drones, and attacks like this, you need to make a quick split-second decision. Decide, is it better for me to keep dropping, or if I come back and crush his army, will I be able to then counter with my reinforcements and do damage? Protoss is a pretty defensive race, especially with high tempo. So my thinking is, if I go back, if I go back and save my army and then counter, I'll probably die to cannons and Psystorm. So I'm going to keep attacking, and plus I remember in the back of my head that my upgrades are really strong. So these few Ultralisks are going to basically turn the tides. So now that I've dropped in his main, my focus is going to be not on his tech, but directly on his gateways. If I can shut down the gateways, then I can shut down his reinforcements, and then I can turn this, I can press this advantage forward. And once the gateways are dead, then I can turn to the bottom left expansion, which I believe will be basically his only running expansion at this point. So now the gateways are bad. That was dead. That was some bad control. I'm gonna run in and just carve out his main. Once these cannons are dead, I'm gonna go for the Forge to again press my upgrade advantage. And after the Forge, I'm gonna go for the Templar Archives to shut down Archons and Dark Templar. And then after that, I won't really keep an eye on these units after those two buildings are dead. It's not really that important. So this is a critical attack because I have, next to no drones. So I'm coming in trying to kill his expansion. I think he has no reinforcements because I've been killing his gateway. So I'm going to send in that Overlord, scout for Templar, there are none. I normally don't advocate over microing little attacks like this, but this is a time when you really need to. Make sure the Ultra goes in first to take all the cannon fire. And then send in the Zerglings and the Lurkers. Because, you know, Ultra is not going to die from 3 cannons. And all those Zerglings, the Zerglings are the damage dealers. Think of Ultras just as elephants that take damage. I mean, they don't... I mean, they deal damage, but the Zerglings are the real damage dealers. So when you shouldn't be worried about things like this when you have a huge army, when you're more worried about unit positioning and flanking and making sure all your hotkeys actually attack. But when you have a small group like this, where at a pivotal point in the game, you definitely want to be focused on seemingly small things like that. And I was just getting ready to spread my Overlords across the map because I don't want to let him get back in the game at this point. I'm pretty sure I'm ahead. So I was going to scout the map, and I found his only expansion. And now I'm putting down a Defiler mount. I have mixed thoughts on Defilers in Zerg vs Protoss. They can be really good if you can use them properly, but often you'd be better off spending your time making sure all your units are in properly, making sure they're flanking. The one time I will advocate Defiler use in Zerg vs Protoss is when you're trying to crack an expansion that's heavily cannoned, which is the point this game is getting at. That's his last expansion, and I know he doesn't have a Templar Archives, so I mean I know he'll be basically cannoning that up, and the only way I'm going to be able to crack that if he gets enough cannons is with Defilers. So basically dropping and running in to kill expansions are the only times I try to use Defilers. You can use them against other builds, basically to negate Archon damage, but if you're a lower level player, it's generally not worth your time. So this is going to be about the end. He just hasn't had enough time to set back up, get his Templar out, get enough cannons up. And I'm just going to be able to kill this with the Ultralisks. So if you have any questions or comments or suggestions on my commenting or my Zerg play, just give me a PM to chill or reply in this thread.